drop. One more thing goes wrong, what's gonna pop? Friends living shaded, no conscience, just living in. I felt away, remembered my head, I live, God, they are lit. Foul and winning, real talk, my foot almost slid. I poured so much, but when I need the pour, no one is around. This season is crazy, like nothing I've ever seen. But I thank God for life in between. This season is great, like nothing I've ever seen. But I thank God for
Welcome to the SpeakHer Podcast with your host, Camille Essig, the podcast where innovators and creators connect. Let's get started.
Welcome to Heart and Soul, presented by the SpeakHer Podcast. I am your co-host, Jonathan, and I am going to introduce you to tonight's panel. Camille will be here shortly. Before we begin, be sure to hit the notification bell and subscribe. Let's welcome tonight's panelists. Derek D. Ross, Prescott Mack, Byron Dixon, Seals the Man, Recondius O'Brien, Stanley Ponder, and Jalen Daniels. Hey, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Help keep the SpeakHer Podcast ad-free. Hit the link below and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps the podcast free of interruptions while bringing you more impactful conversations.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. Please share this and tag a friend who needs to hear this.
Well, we are back, you guys. This is Camille Essig, and I am host of the SpeakHer Podcast, the podcast for innovators and creators connect. And if you haven't done so, be sure to like, comment, share, follow me. I'm across all streaming platforms, and we're gonna hop right into it. So, if you haven't heard, I don't know where you've been. If you've been under a rock, I don't know. But tonight is gonna be top tier. And so, with that being said, I want to officially welcome everyone back. This is a continuation of Heart and Soul 2025 as we begin to wrap up this year. And joining me tonight are some phenomenal brothers. And we're going to do a round the table introduction. So if you saw the credits, we have Prescott Mack, Recondius O'Brien, Derek D. Ross, Seals the Man, Jalen Daniels, Stanley Ponder, and the Byron Dixon, all here in one place. So gentlemen, welcome back. And thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, it's always a pleasure.
Good. How's
Always.
everybody doing?
Good. Staying busy. Trying to stay out of trouble.
Awesome.
Echo.
So before we hop into everything, gentlemen, go around and let each of the listeners and viewers a little bit about who you are and what you do.
I'll go first since I'm at the top of the screen. I'm Prescott Mack. I am the international sports agent. I represent professional basketball players. I'm an author, man of God, father, and husband. Just happy to be here. Appreciate it, Camille.
Absolutely.
And since I'm next on the screen, I am Recondius O'Brien. I am a serial entrepreneur. I'm a master cosmetologist, a makeup artist, chef, ordained minister, life coach, business coach, and published author, just to name a few. So I am all things service and making sure that I reach the people how God wants me to reach them.
Awesome. So my name is Derek D. Ross. I am a brand strategist, publicist. I amplify your visibility, your impact, and your story. So I say it like this: I brand, I market, I pitch, and I promote. So all those things all wrapped up in one. Been an entrepreneur for about a little over 10 years now. So enjoying the journey and glad to be here tonight.
All right, I'm Sills the Man. I do a lot. 9 to 5, I'm in the tech industry selling computers and software, and 5 to 9, I'm doing content creation. I have my own YouTube channel. Just trying to do good out in this world. Stay busy, like the brother said.
Don't downplay that 300,000 subscribers. We're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you.
I'm Jalen Daniels, founder of Genius Studios. I am a film producer and director. I dibble and dabbles with that.
Tyler Perry, don't do that.
And I also am a man of God. So yeah, that's me.
Minister Byron?
Okay, coming off mute. I am Byron Dixon. I am a IT specialist, audiovisual tech, minister at my church. I also lead one of the co-leads of the men's ministry. I'm a high school football coach, Stevenson High School in Stone Mountain, Georgia. 3-peat region champions this year. So everything, just stay busy. I'm a busy man.
Awesome. I was thinking about you all today while I was at work, and like the why behind what I do here as far as bringing you all together. And my mind went to my grandfather. And I remember as a little girl, you know, we are granddaddy's princess, for several years, I was the only child. And so I had like 7 or 8 years of having him to myself. And I remember, and then we're going to circle back to Stanley as well. I remember seeing him sometimes. He had a large yard and he had this a John Deere riding mower, and he would finish cutting his grass and I could see him just staring off into space. Or I remember seeing him in the garage and he would be out there with his tools or cleaning fishing rods, or sometimes he would be in the garden and he would just get really quiet. And I would, me being a little girl, running up to him, would talk for a little while, and then he would say, go see if your grandmother needs help. And it was his way of showing me back in the house, because that was his time of wherever his mind was. And he came from that generation. He was from the Depression era and came through that time frame of life. And I just remember as I got older in these years of chapters of my life, what was he thinking about? You know, and where was his mind? Where did he go to in those places? Because a lot of men during that time frame really didn't talk about their feelings, what they were going through. They just kind of dealt with it in their own way, and he would just get very quiet. And so fast forward to here we are tonight in 2025, and he's no longer here with us. But, I just wonder, where his mind was. And so to have you all here to open up, talk, and share um, the next generation from that, I think says a lot as far as how long it's taking for us as community to get to space to even have space for you all. So that's the why and the motivation, amongst some other things we'll get into down the road, as far as why I feel this is important to have you all here. So, and then also we have Stanley Ponder. Let the people know a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Oh wow! I was just listening to about your grandfather. That was that definitely took me back. But yes, Stanley Ponder. I am currently in active duty military, command master chief. I'm also a youth pastor and co-founder of InStep LLC and Dream Chasers Foundation Incorporated. My foundational training and experience has always been in team building, leadership, and in Christian education. And I just look forward to continue to building teams as I continue on my military career.
Awesome. And it's a running joke, and he'll get it. Thank you for your service. We hate that so much, but so I told that about my grandfather, because that kind of leads us into where we're going as far as that point first portion of this conversation. And I told that about him as far as sitting in the garage and being quiet. And I want you all to chime in and really take charge of this conversation as far as the quiet burnout that comes from performing out of a place of strength versus living in wholeness.
Mm, wow.
You said a mouthful.
Yeah.
When you were telling the story about your grandfather, um, I've been in that journey this year. In previous years, I've always been on that grind, like hustle hard, like, get the next contract, get the next thing. And you find yourself chasing something, but not appreciating what you currently have, right? Because a lot of times you're in the thing that you prayed for, but you are so busy chasing the next that you don't know that you're in the now of it, right? And so this year for me, it's been about um, learning the power in the pause, to really take a moment to absorb it, but then also process it all, right? Been in therapy pretty heavily the past 2 years. I have a new therapist, and she always tells me to breathe through it. You don't always have to respond immediately. You don't always have to react immediately. Breathe through it, take the time, process it, ask questions about what you're feeling, kind of go into it a little bit more deeply. Like, well, why am I feeling this way? Trace it back to its source. So that way, when you are actually responding or looking for a solution, you know what the problem is, not a symptom of something that's not the problem. So that's been something I've been very intentional about this year, 2025, and even dabbling in more as I go into 2026. But that's what showed up for me in your story, and just kind of opening up and like where our minds go, because there's a lot of heaviness, right? There's so much going on in the world. One, we got family, you got business. There's a lot of things that you are in charge of. We are in charge of as men, and a lot of things that we carry that a lot of people won't know about. Other brothers will, but not a lot of people will know. And so some of that is I know for me to process it and try to take care of it, but then also know how to ask for help specifically when I need it. Because if I don't know, I'm not going to ask. But when I do ask, know that I've gone through the process to know exactly what I need help with before I go asking and not know clearly what it is. So.
Anyone can jump in at any
Oh,
time.
man, that was phenomenal. We don't have a lot of men who are going to seek therapy and wanted to get involved with that. So I'm glad you said that out loud. I think that is very freeing for any young man and older man to hear that you can be successful, you can still be a man, and seeking help or giving help is not tied to your manhood. Um, there is um, my Chewy, my baby girl, Reese. My prayer for her was that, Lord, that I will be a answer for her, and not the answer, but a answer. And that just calls for her to hit me up 50 times a day. Booker, what is this? Booker, what is that? And Booker, why is the sky blue? And Booker, is the water blue too? And I'm like, there's a Google button on your phone. She's like, why do I need Google if I have you? And I had to remind myself, I said, I want to be an answer to her. And for many men, we pride ourselves on being an answer from the time of growing up. We are an answer. If we're playing basketball, we need somebody to, whether you're making a play or doing a sacrificial play, to have an answer. When somebody's going through something, somebody to cool down the room, to be that thermostat, not a thermometer, an answer. Um, Even so much so when there's tragedy, you get that phone call, and I think everybody on this line can say, man, everybody come and ask me for the answer. And I'm like, I feel like I have to give the answer because we have been prided in some type of way from our love lives of how our love interest looks up to us or other people. You always have an answer, and then they tagline with that, and you're so strong. So it is you go through the 5 stages of grief if you can't have it, if you can't be the answer, or if you can't be identified as strong. And with that, I believe that for your grandfather, that those moments of silence is him thinking about all the people who he has to provide an answer for. He's going over how many grandkids, his wife, what he got to do when he get into the house. Man, that faucet was leaking the other day. Man, I gotta go get the oil change over here. He is providing an answer for so many things, and that quiet is a lot of times thinking about, okay, who needs an answer? What answer needs to be applied? And I cannot give that to anyone else because I am the answer. I saw this commercial one time, and this man, he was looking at a spool of wire. Maybe you guys seen it. It's on social media. His wife comes into the garage, and he's teary-eyed, and he's just looking at the spool of wire, and she goes, "What's going on?" He said, "I'm looking at this wire." He's not articulate, so he's like, "And I remember when I bought this wire, it was full, and I bought it when I was really, really young." And now I come out to use the same spool of wire in my toolbox, and the wire it's almost gone. And I had to just take a look at my life. I bought this when I was young, and it was full, and now that I'm old, it's almost to the end. And he just looked at his wife. He says, "Do you kind of understand what I'm saying?" A lot of times we will get to that age where we have been used and given answers to so many people that our spool of yarn, our spool of wire will be used up. And then the very, very haunting question comes, do I have to give an answer to anybody else before I leave? Did I give enough answers before that happens? So I don't know your grandfather, but I would like to think that those quiet moments are us looking at the spool of wire of the things that's been used up while also thinking, and before I leave, what more answers do I have to supply?
Thank you for that message. That was inspiring too. But going back to what you said, see, I'm actually going through a burnout on 2 levels, right? So I'm just coming back from a sickness. I don't know what it was, but I'm like, as you can kind of hear, I'm still getting back to it. But also I'm coming back from like an entrepreneur and just like a content creation burnout, where I stopped doing videos for like over a month now. And I started to blame myself, like, man, I do so much, but sometimes it takes a great toll on me, and I'm doing it all by myself, so it's like I just need a break, right? And that week turns into 2 weeks, and that 2 weeks turns into a month, and I look and my views are going down, everything just seems like it's going down. But sometimes I think that burnout is a fire sent from God, because sometimes I think about deforestation, right? When the woods burn down, all those trees burn down, but what happens? New growth comes, a whole new forest, right? Even in my my burnout, I started to think of, because I didn't do anything. I couldn't do anything. I didn't have any creative juice. I didn't have any care. I would just sit at home, just watch TV, and I would just think like, man, I started to get new ideas in this burnout session that I'm having on what I can do when I get back to my 100%. New video formats, new things to talk about, just new things I would have never thought about if I didn't burn out. You know what I mean? So I think that as I get older, I'm starting to realize that sometimes a burnout is a blessing. Sometimes it's God's way of saying, sit your butt down. You doing too much. It's like you're trying to take my place. I'm in control. You're not in control. You could do as much as you want, but your desired results are not guaranteed unless I say so. And I start to realize that more and more in these burnout sessions that I thought were negative. But as I mature in God and in my faith, I realized this is God saying, time out, sit down, recalculate, recalibrate, and let's get back to it. And newer things, just like those new trees and those burnt out forests, new growth, new things will come, you know? So that's what I'm going through right now. Even right now, I'm not physically able to do what I want to do, but I'm so excited to get back to 100% health and 100% just like creative juices, because I know when I get back, it's go time. But none of this would have happened if I didn't have this burnout, you know? So that would be my message to my brothers out here too, is like, don't always look at burnouts as a negative thing. It's sometimes a necessary process.
Yeah, I think all of that is, I love this because it shows the multitude of experiences. While we have like kind of parallel experiences, they all have their own nuances. And so like a man, when I think about your grandfather, when you first told that story, like everybody, what Seals and what Stanley said, it all like made sense. Like, yeah, he could definitely be thinking about all the people he's got to give answers to, and he definitely could be burnt out. And then, for me, in my stage of life is kind of in a position where I'm like relearning how to be a man of God, and rebuilding my relationship with God, and then thinking about being a husband and a provider and a father, and just thinking about the dynamic that God created for, like, the hierarchy he created for the family. And when you think about, like, from the bottom up, there's kids, and those kids are under, those parents and that mother and that father. But then that wife, she's not under him, but she's in the hierarchy. The husband is to rule over his home, and so she falls under him. And then when you think about, like, oh, if it really stops there, and the husband is the top, then it's like he's supposed to provide all these answers and all this provision and all the, like, he's supposed to be running everything, but who's his boss? And then you think, like, sometimes in those quiet moments, when I'm picturing your grandfather, like, looking out into space after mowing the yard, like, it could literally be him in his counseling session with God, like his time, because he's providing all the answers to everybody. And so, like, sometimes as a man, when I know, when I go to my closet or my room, or like when I get my space alone, it's literally my time. Like, it's my lecture time. It's like, okay, God, in what direction do I need to help this son go to? Or, like, how can I support my wife more in this way? Or did I make the right decision there? And what career move do I need to make? Like, God, it's that time where you kind of get refined, and it's literally peace. Like, it's literally that time to just, hey, that's probably why he was like, hey, baby girl, go see what grandma got. Cause, like, he's literally in his time where it's the most quiet he probably got. And it's when God shows up. It's when God sits next to you. Cause the way I picture it, I'm a visionary person. So when I have my quiet moments, it's literally, cause I play basketball, sitting on that bench in an empty gym. And then my coach, my God, comes and sits next to me and is like, hey, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about what you did here, what you did there, or let's see how we can, when we go back in the game or our next game, like, how we can do things differently, and really just spending that time with him. So I think in those quiet moments, we reflect on all of these things. We reflect on what needs to die so that new things can grow. Like, in that burnout session, we reflect on how many people we have to show up for and give answers to. But then also, it's just that time where we get to hang with our father and just, like, kick it with our dad, because we have to worry about everybody else's needs throughout the multitude of our day and our hours. So then when we get that quiet time where it's literally we're with somebody that thinks about our needs before his, that's the perfect time. That's the most peaceful time. That's when I can literally be a little boy and see my father. So I think everything that everyone says so far is powerful. But I think that's what when I picture that in my head about your grandfather, because I just recently lost my grandfather too. So when I can picture them in their moments of solitude, I'm like, oh, that's when they're getting the hand on the back of the head, and they get to just be with their dad and be refined and learn some things.
Yeah, Prescott, I'm agree with you. You really touched on where I was going with this. If we remember, and most of us said we were men of God, if we remember, Adam met God in the cool of the evening. That was his time when he got his instructions from what he needed to do. He had dominion over the earth. That was his time. Now, Adam wasn't that smart that he could name all the animals, but he had to get some direction. He had to have somebody to help him. And I think a lot of times, and we can just be real, this is a men's group. A lot of times we don't get those chances to get answers. It's because we're so busy. Everybody's pulling on us. Everybody wants answers from us, but they don't realize you get fussed at, like, why are you sitting on the couch just looking and you're not talking, or you're not talking to the family, you're just off to yourself? It's because I'm trying to get answers. I'm having, as Prescott said, I'm having that moment where my dad is actually talking to me. So I can see really your grandfather just standing there, because I find myself sometimes, I can be at football practice, and sometimes something comes across me and I just start staring, start looking up in the sky. That's because I'm starting to get answers, because he's like, I got you in a still moment. I had to shake you for a moment to get you into a still moment so I can talk to you, because you're constantly moving, you're constantly this. And most men, we don't have a devotional time. Sometimes we don't even have the time to have devotional time where we can get those answers. So sometimes it can be a quick moment. I need something, I need an answer now. So it's a quick moment of quiet time. It's a quick moment of when I can sit myself still. And 9 times 10 is usually after you've exerted yourself. So that's why I understand that burnout. It's usually sometimes after you exerted yourself till you're just tired. And he's like, yeah, I made you tired today so you can sit down and actually let me comfort you and give you that time back. So that's what I love the way Prescott and Seals and Stanley put it. It's just that moment of us always putting out, and we never have, nothing's ever put back in us. So those quiet times are when we can actually hear from our Father. We can actually hear and we can get refreshed. That's our refresh and our restoration moment of quietness, of peace. That's why if you hear, I'm hoping a lot of women are watching this, listening. If you notice, you want to find a happy man, is a man that you bring him peace. And that's that moment of peace. We don't like confusion and chaos all the time, unless it's about our hustle, or unless it's about our business, or whatever our hobby that we love. Other than that, we want to be in a peaceful state, because the tomorrow coming, and when tomorrow comes, I got to have answers for tomorrow. I got to know what's going to happen for this family. I got these kids looking up to me. I got this wife looking up to me. I got my church looking up to me. I got my community looking up to me. I got my job looking up to me. Everybody wants answers. I got my football team looking for answers. Everybody wants answers. So when is my time to have some peace, to refill? So I love the way you put that. So that's why I think that's what it was. He was really in a quiet time, in a quiet place, so he can get those answers and get renewed and get refreshed.
And I definitely wholeheartedly agree with everything everybody's saying. I want to even add on to it, because like you said, hopefully for the women who are watching, this I think is almost even bridging it, because I'm pretty sure there were times where even grandma went away and got her peace. And the same thing that it was for her is the same thing that it is for us. And I think a lot of times so many, it's this huge, gap of seeing who is, okay, we think there's such a huge difference, but no, the same way a woman is refilled, the same way a man is refilled, and even all the way down to the same way, adults, sometimes children have to refill, and they're trying to figure things out. So I think it's when we start to see that we ain't different. There's not that much of a difference. We're all having different things and different needs, and that is a time where we're trying to reflect. And even while we're, was thinking about it, if I'm not mistaken, I think Camille, you had even said that this is grandparents that was entrepreneurs, correct?
Yes.
So, even with all of us, kind of being in that space, that's the board meeting. Sometimes, that is a time where, you're looking back and you're reflecting, okay, over the decisions, okay, if I can get this, if I can get that. And, I even reminded in Genesis when God, after the sixth day and after each creation and everything, he said it was good. And sometimes that silence is a time where we say, okay, that was good. Oh, I might need to work on this. And it's just that conversation, with ourselves, with God, and, just kind of seeing everything. And sometimes it's just silence, not having to say anything. Because sometimes I know a lot of times people, I get in the mood, I don't want to talk. I'm just, just observing what I'm seeing, like especially nature, it's just kind of going outside and just seeing all of that and kind of just like everything is coming in and not in like a bad way, like everything's coming down, but it's like just observing. And just that silence is just a beautiful time. Sometimes the same way it is for, women or whoever you are, everybody, I think even dogs and animals have times where they get away and they go reflect. So I just feel that, that's what it is for everybody. And, the minute we start to see that we're not that much different, it's like, okay, I understand that as a woman, a woman can say, I understand what a man is going through the same way they want their peace. That we, men as men, we want our peace too. And it's simple, is that just that peace, that everybody is looking for.
What's interesting is everyone says something that I've experienced probably in the last year. I think it's the Bible says to whom much is given, much is required, right? And when we think about that and we take ownership of that, we literally take ownership of that. And I think that when we steal those moments to refill our cup, is because we don't have enough people around us that are recognizing and noticing the need or the deficit. When you are the cup filler, you're the one that people run to for refreshing or for a rhema word or whatever it is that they need. You oftentimes forget, hey, I need to be refreshed. Every single one of you said something that was so powerful, and that was the need for someone to acknowledge or notice that you are at a deficit. I think for me, one of the things that I have become so clear on, like when I'm in the stillness of the moment, is beautiful to me because it's not a lot of movement. There's not a lot of people. And I've learned to leave my phone on Do Not Disturb until 8 o'clock. Sometimes the lateness of the hour, I will sit and just be still. I come home from work and people say, like, are you home? I'm like, yeah. They're like, I don't hear anything because I'm silent. I've been peopling all day. And after I people all day, I need to unpeople just as much. And this in those moments that you get an opportunity to be refilled and you can hear clearly. One of the things that pressed upon me when you guys were talking was we have to allow ourselves not only to be replenished, but to also be still in the knowing that He is God. Yes, there are things that we have to be responsible for, but everything is not ours. We run in to save the day because we're men and that's what we think we're supposed to do. But what if that's God telling us, hey, that one ain't yours? You have to allow the Holy Spirit to lead and guide you in all truth, even as it relates to, is that my person? Is this what I'm supposed, is that my assignment? And I think that's my thing I've learned this year. Everything is not my assignment. Everything I can kind of be chill because that one ain't mine. And I let God do what God does. And when God comes back to me and say, hey, I showed you that. I showed you that because I wanted you to do it. It's been a hard lesson because my cape has holes in it for me running in to save the day. In conclusion, when I wrote my book, one of the chapters is called Superman. I said, today I found myself buried underneath all of the things that I've used to save the world. When I found out the one who needed saving the most was me. Because I put on my cape running in thinking, if I run in and save the day, somebody will see me. Some people don't have the capacity to see you. That's why God made us who we are. We are strong men because God ordained that for us. But we have to also know when we have to go back for refreshing.
That's so good. And you saying that actually goes into something I really want to hear you all unpack. I'm just here more so to facilitate the conversation and let you all just take it and run with it like an alley oop, you know? Yeah, I like sports. But and by you saying that, Rakanius, that was so profound. So, and anyone can take this at any time. When was the last time like you really felt seen? Not just for like what you do, but just who you are.
Well, I guess I can answer that, but I would say for me, I think I got to a certain point where I didn't really care about being seen. And it sounds crazy, but and I say that because I got to a certain point because the thing is like when you look for being seen, sometimes it takes that person to see you for you to get that relief. And it was more about, okay, if God sees me, we always say he's a comforter in the time of need and he's a time of storm. Well, then let's use that, so it was, because the thing is there's certain people who I know who always saw me, but some of them people ain't here no more. So it's like, so it's those specific things. So, I feel like with me, as I got to a point is, God sees me, he knows what to do then, he knows how to comfort me in that moment. And, it was for me also just so important to see that Jalen sees Jalen, that I don't need any, like, of course we all need people, but I don't need anybody to come see for me. I've learned how to find, those moments where I can check in on Jalen and say, Jalen, you need to do this for yourself. And because especially, I think one of the biggest things when you're building, like, as far as an entrepreneur, when you're building something that's never been done before, sometimes other people seeing you don't even matter. Because what their word, the things that, the way they comfort is like, okay, all right, things, they can't even fathom what, with the thoughts that you have, what's going on. So it's like, sometimes it doesn't even do anything for you, just speaking for me, but sometimes it doesn't do anything. So it's like Jalen seeing Jalen, God seeing Jalen, and really just making those two. Then sometimes you have, people who come in and check in every now and then, but those biggest things is making sure that as long as I see me and God sees me, I'm able to manage and I'm able to keep it going no matter what the obstacle has been. And there has been some crazy obstacles, from child up until now. But, it's as long as those two together, I've been able to manage.
Yeah, that's real, Jalen, because I think I realized something like as early as this year is there's not one person in your life that knows 100% about you. Like not one. If you think about it, like no, there's something that like the closest person to your mother, there's some stuff my mama don't know about me, right? There's some stuff my wife don't know about me. There's some stuff my father doesn't know about me. And so like anybody, even no matter how close they are to you, nobody knows 100%. So you're the only person on this earth that actually knows you. And so like being seen, once you get to I guess a certain age or a certain maturity level as a man, you get to the point where early on like you want credit for this, you want to be seen for that, and you want to be known. And the thing is, like, once you get to a certain point, you're like, well, let me get to know me. Like, that's what's important. So then once you get to know you, then there's no other validation needed. And then the only other being that knows 100% of you is God. So then between your relationship with God and your relationship with yourself, that pretty much fulfills you, and everything else is kind of icing on the cake. Did my wife notice that, I've been in the gym a little bit, like, yo, yeah, I like that. You seeing those results. Did my job, my boss give me a kudos, or am I getting a raise and getting noticed there? And my kids notice that notice that I did this or that for them. Those become icing on the cake. But the real, like, once you really feel seen is between the two people that actually know 100% about you, because nobody else does.
Seal?
Yeah, those are all excellent points. It had me thinking about other things I never thought about when it comes to being seen. Jalen, man, bro, you was talking, man. I don't know if this is normal or not, but like I don't really care to be seen. I don't do what I do to be seen. How do I explain this? Like, and a lot of people tell me like, hey, you need to like, pat yourself on the back sometimes. Like you need to like give yourself some praise. And I'm just like, I don't really do this for an audience. The things I do are out of love and charity because I know God does that for me. So it's just when you were speaking, Jayla, I was like, bro, somebody else gets me. But back to your topic, I would say that also we got to be careful of like in what scope we're trying to be seen, right? There's different ways to be seen. People do a lot of things. They buy nice cars or they get nice chains or jewelry or get the best clothes to be seen in that way, in that scope, to be viewed as, oh, you balling, you a shot caller, right? So you got that scope. And then you got people who go out into the streets and feed the homeless. And now they're getting seen by the homeless, right? But they're not getting seen by the majority public. Does their vision of you, is their vision of you worth any more or less than the people on your Instagram just because they have nothing? You know what I mean? So it also depends on your content, what's inside of you, and what you desire in life too. Because what you may think of as being seen is dependent on your desires. And that could be, bad things or good things. It could be vices or testimonies. You know what I mean? So sometimes you got to look at yourself and decide in what type of scope do you want to be seen? And I think about that sometimes. Always make sure, my grandma always told me, make sure you come out the house wearing underwear with no holes in them and come out representing your last name to the fullest, right? So those are things that are constants for me to come, like to when I go out to the public, to make sure that I'm on top shape, right? But as we all know, vision goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than the skin. It goes deeper than what you just say. It's how you live life and what you do with that, right? So vision and being seen is so deep, and it comes on so many levels. And we just got to be careful on how we're leading and what the roots of our definition of being seen is.
That's really good. Something I want to slide in to add to this conversation when we're looking at as far as you or men, particularly Black men, being seen, the line between cultural expectations as far as sight, but then seeing your humanity as a person and how those lines get skewed because and I have these conversations to listen and to learn. And there's so many layers for you to be a man, to be a Black man in this world. So to be seen and heard when you're in a world that's constantly putting you in this box or putting you in this category, then you have things within the community. Then within the Black community, there's subculture. So trying to filter through all of that, how do you manage? Jalen said something about managing. Where do you go beyond just managing and you're in a space where you're hitting the clear, where you're being seen and being visionary, but being seen, and it's like, hey, I'm right here. How do you navigate that?
So, Camille, Byron, I see you. I'm sorry, man. So here, I want to add this to the conversation early on. As children, I don't know about your household, but we were taught to be seen and not heard, right? And for many of us, we grew up with not having the expectation to be seen or heard. And so we had to unlearn that bad behavior to have the expectation that someone will recognize my gift or my light in the earth. Is it necessary? Not necessarily, but it is necessary to understand that you are a light and you were meant to be light. And so for me, it is still me migrating the little boy in me that was told, you stay in a child's place. There are a lot of men that are still in a child's place because they have not understood that now as an adult, I have a voice, I have a sound. The Spirit of God spoke to me and said, you have to get used to hearing the sound of your truth coming out of your mouth in your hearing, or else you will never understand what it is to be heard or to be seen. And so as I'm navigating this life, not that I have an expectation for someone to see me or to applaud me. Helen Baylor said in her song, she says, applause said, "I love you." But when the music stopped, she realized that she was still by herself. Yes, it is necessary for us to own the fact that someone may not say you're doing a good job. But the human side of us want to hear, "I see you and I recognize your efforts in the earth." That's just true. You can't, I don't care how many ways you can, like, it's not about validate. Well, it is about validations. Everyone wants to feel as if their efforts are recognized. Did it take me years to get it? Yeah, I get it. Hey, I like Jalen, like Sills. I don't expect it anymore. True story. When I was working in corporate America, the boss said she needed some things done. The people were coming to visit, and she was like, "I don't care who does it, it needs to be done." So I stayed over for 3 nights straight, doing all of the things she asked for. And she was like, "Thank you, Ricondius." And I was like, "That's it?" I was like, I done cut and shaped. But Spirit of God say, did you do it from a place where you understood that you were doing what you chose to do? Because it's different if God leads you to do something and you do something because you want to be honorable and represented in all of the things. So I just wanted to add that really quickly before, because I think that everyone has a point, but I think the true story, to navigate this space to be seen, you have to recognize that many of us are still unlearning what it is to have presence. I am still learning at 54, how do I bring all of me into the room without regret?
Wow.
Where I can't, the parts that are unsavory to you, I can't leave them outside because we just overcame that. But I'm bringing all of me into the room, and you will either have to adjust or we won't be here.
Derek.
Raconda's kind of went where I was going. I think a lot of times, in just looking at just the men that's on this panel, I think we're all like Jalen. We're at a point where being seen doesn't really matter. When you really hit your point in manhood and you've actually found out where your direction is, I think instead of seen, and I'm gonna pull a Camille here, I'm throwing the alley-oop. I think the really word is appreciated, not seen, because none of us really care to be seen because we don't do what we do to be seen. Once you hit that level of manhood, you everything you do, you don't care if your kids tell you thank you. You don't care if your wife really tells you thank you for a certain thing. As Rakan just said, even in corporate America, they're gonna give you that little bit of hey, thank you, and move on. The next project, they already on the next project. So it's not necessarily about being seen, because when we get to this point where we found what our vision is, when we found out when we're walking in what we're supposed to be doing and we feel confident in ourselves and knowing what we're doing, we're cool with not even being seen. I think sometimes, though, as men, we're looking for appreciation from the people that have our heart. We don't really care about the people sometimes, because if I'm doing my job, I'm doing my job. But if you're supposed to be the person that has my heart, sometimes I need to feel like I'm being appreciated. And I think that's the point that I want to throw. Let's take the scene out. I think the key word is appreciated. And I think not enough brothers, by the people that have our hearts, feel appreciated. Because when you look at social media now, I mean, we got this gold digging thing. You got everybody wants, you to buy purses, you to get hair and nails done, you to give me this, and you need to be taking me to Ruth Chris on the first date. Everybody wants everything up front. But what is the appreciation? I mean, what is it falling back on? That's why we're having those quiet moments, because we've been giving out so much, trying to be everything to everybody and just trying to be in that place I think it's the point of us being appreciated for being a man. You talked about cultural, being a black man in America, being appreciated that, hey, I got stopped yesterday for a routine ticket and I made it out. Hey, appreciate it. Hey brother, I saw you. To see another brother just slow down and pull up and say, hey man, you all right? Those are the type of things I think as cultural black men, we just want to feel like we're appreciated. We're seen now. We got our voice. A lot of us have stepped into our voice. More black men today have stepped into our voice than 25, 30 years ago. We have our voice. We have our lanes. We know what we can do. The problem is our own culture sometimes does not appreciate who we are, especially the ones that are doing right. Yeah, there's some guys out there that not taking care of their kids. They got the stigma. Yeah, but there are a lot of us, and I'm looking at 7 or 8 of us right now. I know take care of business. So we're not even worried about being seen. I think the word is appreciated.
That's really good. One of the reasons why I have these conversations is out of appreciation, also respect, and also I feel that it is so imperative that these spaces are carved out for you all to have a space to speak and voice things such as this that in times past it was not even available. And I'm doing my best to put a dent in it, as best I can. And I hope that you all that are tuning in, that you're getting something from this conversation. If you haven't done so, please tag a brother that you know, hit that notification bell, like, share, subscribe. And so I want to kind of turn the corner in this and kick this off with Derek or even Rev, as far as what does pressure look like for you in this season of life? Because it seems like, well, it doesn't seem like it is. We look on social media in the news, there is so much happening, so much going on. And then as Minister Byron was talking about, as far as just daily pressures on top of family stuff, and then going back to, that moment with my grandfather, and that happened so much throughout my life, and up until he got, ill and passed away, I noticed, as I started to maturate into my teen years and my early 20s, he began to talk to me and start to open up and share a little pieces of himself with me. For whatever reason, I didn't see him doing that with other people, but he would do that with me when other people were not around, and even as I was young, like 16, 17, and even now, I have found myself not anything funny or weird, but I could be in a coffee shop, and for some reason, men feel comfortable talking to me and just sharing random things, and I'm like, "Why did he tell me that?" You know? And so fast forward to holding spaces like this, maybe it's a gifting, I don't know, but I've always just had this curiosity as far as, man, what makes him tick? What's on his mind? And some of that stemmed from the last it was like 8 years ago, situation where I almost got engaged, it didn't work out, and then I dated someone else, that didn't work out. And then I paused like, hold on, am I choosing wrong? And so I began to dissect my picker. Like, why did these 2 relationships not work out? And I feel like a lot of women always say, "Well, he's this and that, whatever." And during the pandemic, I began to educate myself, and that's how I came across Seals, and really began to investigate the psychology, especially for me growing up in church. I think a lot of women in church have um, had a couple glasses of the Kool-Aid of this fairy tale of what we think a relationship is and what it should be, and not sitting down, and we're so quick to say what we desire, what we need, but it's like, pause that, put a pin in that, sis. What does he need? Where is he coming from? What is understanding his psychology? And during the course of podcasting, I began to loop the brothers into the conversation because I was like, there's a disconnect here. We're missing something. It's like if you cook and you're like, this is good, but it needs something. And so And I said all that to say, as far as we as women, we deal with pressures and narratives and Kool-Aid and all this. But when we flip the coin, because the coin has two sides, you have pressure too. And so going through this space now, post pandemic, we're looking at what is looking like civil rights era part 3, so much happening. And so when we break all that down, what is that pressure looking like for you in this season of life where you're going beyond just managing the pressure?
You go first, Sam?
Oh.
Go ahead.
uh, uh, Dave Chappelle is my favorite comic, and because he's just a genius, and you learn more than you end up laughing, but you end up learning a lot more. Sometimes you gotta watch his comedy like 2 or 3 times. In one of his stand-ups, it happened after the infamous slap that was at the Oscars. And he said that he found himself in both men. He was both Will Smith and Chris Rock. James Baldwin said that to be Black and conscious in America is to be in a consistent state of rage. You can feel like, on one hand, I'm sick and tired of the things that are going on, and I'm willing to put my hands on any and everybody just so y'all can stop and leave me be. And at the same time, you can be just like Chris Rock and be like, no matter what happens to me, I worked too damn hard to get to where I'm at, and I refuse to have anything slip and I lose it all. That is the constant state of rage. What post on Facebook that we just go all in because we're just sick of hearing about it? And at the same time, while we're got our social media fingers wrapped into this, we look at it and say, is this the hill that I'm willing to die on? How many times can somebody disrespect you out in public, and you feel like, I need to go ahead and relocate this man's jaw? And then you think, and how long will I be in prison? And what will my family say? And will I that balance is insurmountable, and it is not balanced. It's not. Um, Everybody on this line is dealing with a level of mental crisis, because we have two men that have to choose to be, where we want to have peace like Martin, to make sure that people see the God in us. We absolutely want to also be like Malcolm and say, by any means necessary. That disparity, that struggle is something that all of us deal with. And that quiet is us asking ourselves, did I make the right move? I let that man slide. Did I make the right move? I made this comment. Did I make the right move? That consistent state of rage does not truly give us peace. It does not truly give us the answer. And sometimes you just don't know. And I don't want to make it seem like I'm just so smart, and my failed attempts of trying to be smart and going to school and reading a book, I will never make it seem like that I'm going to be able to give somebody an answer today. I'm not. I'm not going to be able to give an answer. I am going to say that that struggle, that mental anguish, is ever so present. It is a clear and intimate piece of danger, and we waltz with this danger daily. Daily. Who are we going to be today? Are we going to be Will Smith and say, I'm sick of this? Or are we going to be like Chris Rock and say, I got to keep it together? And I don't think anybody has mastered it yet.
That's good.
Wow. There.
Yeah, because I think what that's that universal pressure, right? That we all feel in some state, some phase.
I'm sorry, I may talk
And
so long. Yeah,
oh
somebody
no,
was going to say something.
oh, can y'all hear me?
Or do we just need to
Yes.
just be
Okay.
quiet? I don't know. Do we need to be quiet and just, I don't know.
Derek.
Yeah. So, but no, I was agreeing. Like, I think that's that universal pressure that we all feel, right? There's that common thread that we can connect on. But I think on top of that, you stack the pressure position, right? So I'm single, but then you have those that are fathers, those that, have other types of positions that they hold that stacks on other layers of pressure that I won't even experience because that's not the position that holds in my life, right? And so now you start to fluctuate the different types of pressures that we all will experience in different seasons, different areas of our lives. And then you stack on the pressure that we ourselves add on because we pick up stuff that we're not supposed to pick up, right? We try to solve things that's not ours to solve. And that's some of the things that I've been learning is how do I chip away at pressure that I can control and not add on to the already foundation of universal pressure that Stanley described that we experience day in and day out, right? What are things that I don't need to pick up? That's not my responsibility. It's not my to solve. And that comes over time, right? That comes as we grow, as we have experiences, as we gain wisdom. We know what things to pick up and what things not to pick up. And there's things that just are unique to our lives in general that we just have to learn how to navigate over time on top of that. So I think pressure is always going to have this gauge, like, decibels and things of that nature, that it'll go down. It'll always be a buzz, right? That universal will always have that. But then it'll continue to rise and fall as different seasons, as different titles, responsibilities, things come in and out of our lives. But I think part of it is recognizing the pressures that we can control and the ones we can manage to help mitigate some of what we can control. And then knowing how to, when the ebbs and flows come, be able to recognize them so that we can prepare as much as we can, right? Support, help, whatever that looks like. And that's how, at least for me, that's how I'm starting to try to navigate, because having everything turned up 100% on all levels it's going to drive you crazy. And so for me, I'm just trying to find the points in life and the points in dealing with pressure that aren't my responsibility. What's my responsibilities? When are the peaks going to come? When are the valleys going to hit? So I know how to then move fluidly with that, knowing that there's always going to be a constant buzz in the universe for pressure that we're going to just experience because we're born and we're Black men.
Jalen?
Ooh, can I know we said that nobody's mastered, of course, but I done got pretty close, and I tell this to a lot of people about being laser focused, and it kind of goes in a little bit what Derek was talking about, being really being laser focused. What I've come to realize is some stuff just don't matter, and and a friend of mine was talking to me yesterday about the difference between obstacles and barriers. And, obstacles are things that are placed there to, build you during the journey, things that, if you make the change, you can get over. But the barriers are things that are placed there to make you stop. And, just learning those difference between those obstacles and those barriers. And then, like I said, being laser focused, when you get very focused on like a specific thing, some stuff just don't matter. You get to the point, you can call me a lot of things. And you probably, not even probably, you're not going to get a response out of it. I'll make you more mad by the fact that I'm not going to respond. And, and look, I'm going to say this a little bit, but working with Tyler Perry and seeing how this man, like the way he, that stuff just don't, it's just noise. All the different attacks and everything, that stuff is just noise. And seeing how, it's like, okay, on my level where I am, and I'm seeing that, it's like, okay, but being on that level and it's still just noise. It's not that the noise gets louder. It's just that the noise just grows. That's all. It's just more different. It's just more noise around. But you are so focused on what you're supposed to be doing that anything that does not serve that you don't pay any attention. And some things you do have to stop and correct. But most of the times, the things that come at you, it's like like Elder Cook said on Sunday, it's like an insect in your ear, and you have to that's all it is, and it's just like blocking out the noise and just focusing on what you're supposed to focus on. But I know for me, that's been so strong, and just what is my goal? What am I trying to hit? And if anything that does not serve that, some stuff is not even pressure because I don't even give it the time of day. And then also just on the other end of it, there's some things that I do have to deal with. Like I got some great news today, but just yesterday I was talking to a different distributor, and I was telling him, now mind you, I can't say who the cast is, but these particular actors, very well known, millions of followers. They done been in some of the biggest shows, and this particular white gentleman, he's like, oh, I don't know any of these people. And he was like, yeah, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to do that. So, but the thing is, and then I go on Netflix and I look at these other projects and I see Suzanne, Tanner, and Connor. They don't nobody know none of these people, but they still got sold. So you have that pressure. It's like, okay, that's something I cannot control, but there's a workaround. And, and also, like I said, just the obstacles versus the barriers, God is very mindful of us when it comes down to pressure. And, so the same day, within that same day that happened today, I get a call with another person. She's white and a distributor, but she understood it. She said, I specialize in these kind of things. So it's like certain things that we do see as pressure. There's some stuff that you can know. There's some stuff that God's going to help you lift. And certain people will come to help you lift those things. And that's the stuff that matter. But everything else is just noise. If I can't do nothing about it, that's just noise.
Ricardius?
I can appreciate that. I really can. What I heard from many of you, and it blessed me, is that pressure produces diamonds. And you are where you are because of the pressure that you have endured. You are where you are because of what you've been able to overcome. I think for me, because I have this pressure has been such a process for me, and understanding that it wasn't meant to destroy me as much as it was to build me. It's been a hard unlearning for me, and relearning that just because you're being pressured or you in the position that God has you in, it's because God is perfecting some things that concerns us. One of the things that was I'd be like, God, like, do you want me to be this year's? Do you want me to be Job? Like, what we doing? Why are we what are we doing? And here is what I understand, and I think Derek was the one that introduced it. When I feel pressure, I pause. And I have to figure out, where is it coming from? Is this self-imposed? Is this a life lesson? Is this a spiritual lesson? What is this doing? Because everything that feels like pressure is not meant to break you as much as it may be to build you. And I think that's one of the things that, as a Black man, no biological children, but I've raised my nephews, and I am the only strong male that they have in their lives. But they go all the way around Mulberry's bush before they realize, my uncle told me this. My uncle said this. And yet I'm still in the same space that you left me in. I literally told you this. And they'll say, well, uncle, if I listen, but if I allow that, it will break my spirit to not continue to pour. But now I'm choosing what's important for me to pour in, what is pressure, and what is simply noise. That's been the greatest lesson I think that I've learned in the last 5 years. What's really pressure and what is noise? Because the noise is a distraction. Pressure will produce something if you let it. Noise is a distraction.
Yeah. And can I just say one thing with what you're saying there? The noise is doing what it's supposed to do. That's his job. We can't even get mad at it. It's supposed to do that. We just got to overcome it. But I just had to add that little 2 cents.
Nah, that was good. I'm done after. But I mean, if you think about that, noise does what noise does. It takes your focus on what you're supposed to focus on. And pressure will produce something in you that you didn't even know you were that you were purposed for. But if you allow it to, it will birth something in you that you didn't even know you were capable of.
Wow. So going into that, as far as, and I wanted to shoot this off to Seal. So do you think with that pressure, how do you take that as far as redefining what strength means for you as a man today? Like, how do you take that pressure and then take it and redefine the term of strength?
You said me, right?
Yes.
I was just thinking when Recon and Jayla was talking about it, like pressure is necessary because like you think about our water pipes, if ain't no pressure in those pipes, you ain't getting no water. So everything has its purpose, right? And then and same thing with the noise. If you don't hear noise, you won't know if something is wrong or right. So I appreciate y'all talking about that aspect. I realized that in this time of the life that I am in right now, this current stage, that um, I don't look at pressure as being a bad thing. I think you was talking about this, Recon. I don't look at it as a negative thing. I look at it as a motivator. Um, I'm a very competitive person. I'm an athlete, so I'm not into sports, but I still have that athlete spirit. And anytime I feel pressure, I take that pause that you was bringing up, brother, and I try to make a strategy, a plan, a 2-3, or or a double team. Like I start to think of ways to accomplish this because I know my God has all things in control. Like I can do anything I want in this life. So I have that confidence in my faith. And I look at everything and every aspect of my life with such attitude. So anytime I feel like I get pressure, I look at it as a challenge, right? That's just me. I look at it in a way to win because I know that I can win. My confidence and my faith is so strong and impenetrable. I know I can beat this, so a lot of people look at pressure as um, a dead end. Then they think like, oh my gosh, I'm getting pressure. That means it's over. It game over. I can't win. Like this pressure is coming to me for a reason because I'm not worth it. And it's like a glass half full, half empty mentality. But what if you switch your mentality and realize how blessed you are, who your God is, and you will realize how in such a powerful state that we are all in today, right now. Even as a Black man, we go through these pressures all the time. We go through these. I love what you said, Jalen, about the obstacles and the barriers, because a lot of people try to like get past barriers when they're not supposed to, and they look at obstacles as barriers. We have this opposite mentality with things that are not supposed to be, right? If you look at pressure, which is an obstacle, as a barrier, then you will never get past it. But it's all a switch in your mentality and how you view things, right? So I always try to canvas the scene and realize where I am in my life with my confidence, with my competitiveness, and see like how I can maneuver with these pressures, these different pressures that we get too. It's not always the same pressure, it's the same type of pressure. A lot of these pressures, especially the new ones that you never encountered or dealt with, it kind of catches you off guard. I'm sure we have examples of a pressure that we met for the very first time, no matter what age we are, right? But we realize at the end of the day, it is just a pressure. That is all it is. So for me, see, I look at pressure as a motivator, gas in my gas tank. Like it gets me going. In fact, I get bored without pressure. That's how my brain is wired. If there's no pressure, my day is boring, and I need some pressure. Like, let's go. What's good? You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it as pressure.
Yeah. Prescott?
No, yeah, I can only echo what all the other gentlemen said. I mean, it is it's one of those things that's inevitable. So
We
I
can
mean,
hear you, but we can't see you.
uh-oh, you can't see me no more.
No. It's okay. Just keep
What
talking.
happened? Um, so just what I was saying. Can y'all see me now? I've just turned my camera on and off. No, dang. I, so I'll speak shortly, but I tell my kids when I was coaching, like you have to handle hard well, and think like hard is inevitable. So like you gonna choose the hard of working out, or you gonna choose the hard of being obese, so or being unhealthy. You gonna choose the hard of working out the spat with your wife, or you gonna choose the hard of divorce? Like which hard do you want? And so you either way, hard is gonna happen, pressure is gonna happen. So you just gotta handle hard well. And so that to me, that's what it comes down to.
That was profound. Either way, hard is going to happen. Reverend Stanley. Did he freeze? I think he may be frozen. Okay. So we're going to shift and going into that as far as, first of all, I really appreciate what you all are bringing to the table. Um, This is just such an impactful conversation. I'm here listening and I'm just really taking it all in just because for me personally, I can't speak to anyone in the audience, but this is really a master class as far as going into conversations that we don't hear every day from men in our community. I think it's really important that we continue to build these spaces and have these type of conversations. And so one of the things I do want to tap into as far as getting deeper into this conversation as we turn the corner, as far as in terms of relationship, how do you find or what do you look at in terms of defining the difference between protection versus isolation? Because it just seems, and I know you all are on social media, you hear a lot of 50-50 and just a lot of foolishness to the point where, and I'm speaking for the ladies tonight, we're seeing so much what I call noise pollution, and I know I do it. I'm just in the house because I just want no part of that. It's insane. It's not healthy. It doesn't align with who I am as a spiritual person in my walk with God. And so there tends to be a group of women like we want to meet people, but then we see the craziness, and then it's like, I'll just stay inside with my fuzzy blanket. And so when you meet a guy and women, we desire safety and protection. And so when you meet this man and he's doing that, but where is the line between him protecting you versus him isolating you? Because I think I'm hearing some of the narratives online and it's kind of skewed. So can you all kind of clear that up as far as the difference between what does actual protection look like versus isolation?
Oh, can I say something real quick? Um, Everybody on here, we all men of God, so we know we don't play around. But for the women who are watching, please understand that men are not slow at all. Might play dumb, but we are about far from it. And we can see a lot of things. That's why you can see, like you talked about, certain men, they know how to come to certain, they're attracted to certain things. It's weird how God has men wired to be able, we can see right through. You can see when a woman's hurt, no matter how well she carries herself. And you can see all of those things. And that's the reason why you have so many men who do prey on women, all that stuff, because we can see those things. And, if you see a woman strong, that's why you see certain women, they don't even get approached by certain kind of guys. But when you talk about the whole thing with dealing with protection and isolation, I think I ain't gonna say much because I can only go by just some great examples. But one of the biggest things I've learned my parents, my mom, and my dad. My mom, is an entrepreneur, and my dad, he works his, he's working in corporate America, as you call it, whatever. But the amount of confidence and surety that my dad has, and and who he is and all that stuff, it reflects on in everything that he does and how he protects my mom and how he watches her and how how he cares for her and all those different things. And to this level, because she's this boss woman, all these different things, but and she's strong, but it's he knows enough to like, okay, she can fight certain things. She like, no, I got fight my own battles, but she knows when to come back to, my dad was like, I'm gonna let him handle that. But it's that the way that it's the care that really shows. A lot of times it's not, it's kind of hard to point out, when is someone, trying to isolate you from the world, or trying to protect you, but how they care. It's the things that matter most. That I mean, I can speak for just on what I saw, but just the things that matter, and how they care for you, the gentleness. And this is, of course, there's we're all gentlemen, but being a gentleman, and being mindful of that, and how that looks in the relationships and things like that. I hope I'm answering this question.
You are. Go ahead, black man, talk your talk.
But no, it's just those things, being mindful. Why I would say definitely watching the people who you admired and you honor their relationships. Look at how the man takes care of his wife, and you will see. But I think a lot of times people keep trying to reinvent the wheel. And it's like, no, there were great examples of it already, and watch what they're doing, watch how, your grandfather, watch how he watched your grandmother, how he cared for her, how he let her stand on her own, but at the same time, he had her back. So, it's those different things that, when it goes into protection, that you have to watch for as a woman, but put y'all on game. Us men, we know what's going on.
I just had to throw that out there for the ladies, just because I know this is your roundtable. But I do have ladies watching, and I want them to get a little something from this too. Although this conversation is curated for the brother in mind, I want to throw that out there for the ladies so they can have a little something too. So, thank you.
I'll add a little bit to what Jalen was saying real quick. So, when I think about protection, I think about building you up, right? And isolation, I think about is chipping away at you, right? So when you watch like some of these shows and things of that nature, they talk about, men who go after women and things of that nature. They try to isolate them. They get them away from their family. They chip away at their confidence and things of that nature. Isolation begins to break you down so that someone can control you, manipulate you, something of that nature. Protection looks like building you up. Like if you come in as, the woman you are, you're confident in yourself, a man is going to want to protect that confidence, who you are, build you up so that you continue to rise. But then also, to Jalen's point, know how to care for you, know how to support you in those capacities. So when I think about those two words specifically that you use, I think about it in that kind of polarity, right? Of how one is building and one is breaking you down, and recognizing that. So if you're with, even in friendship, right? If you're with people that are trying to isolate you, make you belittle you, make you feel they're chipping away at you for some ulterior motive, whatever goal they're trying to have, instead of someone really building you up, amplifying who you are, correcting you with love, right? If you're wrong, doing all those things that helps you become a better person, building you up, that's protection.
I like that. And one of the reasons I asked this question is because we as women, we can put that out there on social media, but I think it hits in a different way if they hear it from another man, if that makes sense. It has a different level of authority, like, with chess. So these are things that we try to put out there, but because sometimes it's coming within our own demographic, our peer group, but for a woman to hear that from a man, I think it resonates better. So thank you for that.
Camille, I just want to add to that. I think we need to define it in what it really is. Protection comes from the heart. Isolation comes from a place of emotional. And when you meet someone who actually wants to isolate you, they're dealing with some type of emotion that they can't deal within themselves. Protection comes from love. And anybody can get behind protection when they know it's from a place of love, even correction, even rebuke. Everything comes from a place of love. But isolation comes from a place of emotional trauma. So that's where I think the definition is. Once you start seeing people, and just like Derek said, when you see, that's not necessarily in a relationship, that's when friendships. When you dealing with friends, be like, well, you ain't called me in so long. Oh, hold up. You trying to isolate me for a certain, you dealing with some other emotion that you need to handle. They ain't got nothing to do with me. But protection, we even protecting each other. Brothers can even protect each other. Hey man, You look like you ain't eating right. Something ain't going wrong, bro. Hey, I'm taking blood pressure medicine now. Hey, you need to change it now while you young. That's protection. That's actually building, like he said, building somebody up, but that's from a place of love. So I think you need to recognize what it is. Anytime anybody's isolating you, that's trauma. That's emotional. That's a place to run.
I also want to jump on this too, because you said it, brother. Like it's all about definition. You need to know the definition of what isolation is and what it looks like, what it feels like. Just like love, everybody encompasses love with so many things, except for what love actually is. Right? Some people look at abuse as love because they are accustomed to that. He didn't mean to hit me. He just loved me. That's why that ain't love, right? So going back to what I was saying, definition. That's what the most important thing about this. If I was to say something to the women that are watching this, is that you need to know the definition between isolation and filtering. When you have a man who really cares about you, like really rocks with you, really loves you, and wants to protect you, he's not going to isolate you. He's going to filter the things around you. Filtering is a form of isolation, but filtering cleans your environment. It cleans your area. Isolation just holds you by yourself with no purpose, and except for his own selfish reasons for isolating you. But filtering cleans your environment, it cleans your area, it cleans the friends around you, and everything that shouldn't be around you. I was thinking of a situation, right? When a man who really cares about his woman says, like, hey, you don't need to be going out and hanging out with those girls, man. Like, you really need to watch your friend. She be on something. And then she says, oh, why you being like that? She been my best friend forever. Like, she loves me. We've been friends for 15 years. But like you were saying, Jalen, men aren't slow. We're not stupid. We could see things that you don't see because we are men and you are women. And we could see how certain women act around other women, but from a man's perspective, which gives us a different vision on what's going on. So if I tell you and I care about you and I love you and I tell you, hey, you need to be careful with her. You need to be careful with those friends you hang out with, you go into Miami with. And I'm not saying this out of jealousy. I'm trying to protect you, but you got to let me protect you. You got to know the difference between isolation and me trying to filter your circumference right now. I'm trying to help you. I love you. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's the thing that I want to tell the women out here, is that you have to know the definite definition between the two, but you also have to give us permission to protect you. You have to give us access to protect you, because if you don't, then I'm hitting a brick wall. My love for you is hitting a brick wall because you won't allow me to let this street be a two-way street.
I like that permission to be protected. Yes, I was about to call you. Yes, go ahead. I like that.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I just want to just twist a different perspective for the women, because some women deal with levels of control that makes them uncomfortable. There is, I think the statistic is 2 out of 3 women have experienced a level of assault. 2 out of 3. That means out of 3 women, 2 of them have experienced some level of assault. So for the women, I would say my approach would be simple. I'm going to be your GPS. I'm going to be Google Maps. Where do you want to go? And where are we going? And from there, allow me to give you some guidance. And that will then later on trickle into, okay, well, I'm going to make this turn over here. Okay, well, I think you should make a right. Well, I'm going to make this left. Okay, at your next possible opportunity, you need to make a U-turn. And here are all the things you're going to run into. I know that sometimes women feel uncomfortable, even when it comes up to marriage, when it says the word obey. Oh, they hate that word. Oh, I don't want to obey. Okay, well, let me ask you this. If you want to drive, and in the military, we have these things called 7 tons. If you're driving a 7-ton, which is a big military vehicle, you need an A driver because the vehicle is so big, you're not going to be able to do a whole 360 around the vehicle. You need somebody in the passenger seat, be able to guide when you need to make turns and what's going on your left side and your blind spots. If I can't protect you from those things, then allow me to at least give you guidance. And I think you said it last when you said that permission. If you won't let me protect you, okay, cool, because I don't believe the Bible told me to protect you. I mean, that's not a big thing that I have to protect you. And tell that to the quadriplegic who can't move around and do things. So it's not a physical protection. It's going to be guidance. And if you allow me to guide you on some things, then now you have a choice. And I think that's where the women want. They need to be able to say that if they want to make a choice, they don't feel asphyxiated with the relationship that they have to be controlled into this thing. So I get that. I can understand those type of temperaments. So allow me to be GPS. Okay, I think you should make a right turn based on where you said you want to go, and based on you said where we want to go. I think we should make this turn. I think we should go at this speed. We drive this tractor trailer. We got to be able to hit 10 points before we get down to this curve. We got to be able to bleed the brakes. We got to be able to slow down. All those things. Well, I don't want to do that. Okay, then does that mean that you're changing the direction? Are we changing the destination? Because that's what I hear. And I think in the asking and in the inquiry, women find levels of safety versus I told you this and this is how it's going to be. I think that's the thing that's turning women off because they like, whoa, you sound a little bit pushy right now. So just twisting it a different way. If that is the angle that women are talking about, then the question will be is if you're asking me where we're going and you tell me where you want to go, allow me to help you get to that goal. You want to lose weight? Great. I think you should be able to eat these things. Oh, you want to eat donuts? Okay, well, is that going to reach our goal? Is that where we're going? Are we changing the destination? Are we changing the timeline? You're trying to lose 50 pounds by your high school reunion. You see what I'm saying? So I think there's ways to do it, and just tackling it a different way when women have issues when it comes up to the protection and when it comes up to the isolation.
That's good. I also believe that that also comes into trust. It's not that we have a problem with obeying or submitting, but what are we submitting to? Like, what have you shown us in your walk daily? What vision do you have for us spiritually, naturally? Like, we can do that, but have you curated an environment for us to feel relaxed enough to do that? Because in times past, you have to think before we met you, how many people have dropped us, and so we get tense and we get tight because we don't want to be in another precarious situation where we're having to fend for ourselves, piece things back together, and figure it out because we've been dropped again. And so I think, at least for me, hearing that portion of it, that it is not an issue, but creating an environment that is psychologically and emotionally safe for us to be soft, to follow your lead.
And can I even add, because I was going to kind of go there when you had, once, when you were saying, because everything I think what we're all saying is of course right on point. And just to further it on the other side, I think a lot of, especially, I think all men, we got to do a better example of showing that there are great men. And I remember one time somebody said, I wish happy people were more vocal about being happy. You hear a lot of sadness and anger that people are going through, but most times when people are happy, they keep it to themselves. It's like, they keep their pride. They want to be peaceful and, in private and be happy. But I think as men, we have to be better examples of showing that this is what a man's supposed to do. This is what it, and not just showing us, just because one thing I really, really love, I'm all over the place, but one thing I love with like my father, growing up, my dad, he protected my mom, but he was a protector of any woman. And of course, there was a special protection for my mom. But, if he saw some woman on the side of the road, he wouldn't finna just drive by. Well, hopefully she got a man. If there, he holds a door, and seeing those things grow up, I do the same thing. I don't care what the case may be. If this woman has a husband, I think we have to be protectors of all women. And, you know, and like I said, going back to just happy people being more vocal, I think great men have to be more vocal. And, you know, we allow stupid, ignorant men to speak so much. But us happy men, sometimes we're quiet because we want to keep our peace. A lot of times we feel like people don't hear us. But just as much as the stupid and the ignorant can be loud about doing whatever they do, I think as great and strong and wise men, we have to be just as loud and vocal about it. So that way, you know, we talk about trusting. You know, I definitely agree with you, Camille, about, you know, it can be hard to trust when you see like, okay, I'm supposed to trust this, you know, and, you know, because there was a point in time where, you know, so long ago, you know, women had to just fall in line because they didn't have a choice. But now when women start to see, you know, now the times have changed, they're living different kind of times and lives are different. It's almost like it's easy for a woman to say, well, why would we make this decision? Because that makes no sense. Because there's much more freedom now, you know what I'm saying? So I think that as men, we do have to do a better example. And, you know, that's why it's so important to know, you know, to have, you know, as a man, to, you know, to know who you're called by, know who you are and whose you are. So because if you're following God, it makes it much easier for a woman to follow you. And I think that when we look at that, that changes the whole dynamic, you know, because if we take the steps that God has given us as to how to be a man, how to walk right, how to live right, it makes it so much easier for a woman to say, I want this man to raise my son. I want this man to raise my daughter. I want this man to love and care for me. And once we do that, especially as wise men, I think the whole thing will change and it'll be much, much different. It'll take some adjusting for women to see, oh, shoot, you know, there are great men, but a lot of times we're just quiet. But I think we definitely have to start being more vocal about being great and what that looks like.
Wow, Derek, so what is the cost of being the go-to person but rarely having someone to go to? How do you handle that?
I'm still working through that because it comes in ebbs and flows, right? In different seasons, I'm the go-to because I haven't done a good job of cultivating other people that I can depend on, and that's on me, right? So I have to do a better job of building a stronger circle around me in certain areas. Now, in other areas of my life, I have a strong circle. And, you know, so for me, it looks different in different areas. Earlier, we talked about capacity, right? Everybody doesn't have the capacity to be what we need in certain seasons, right? So I have friends that I can talk about around this. I have friends I can talk around business. I have friends that can talk around here. And then I have my core circle that, you know, I can be intimate about in certain things, but everybody doesn't get that piece because everybody doesn't have the capacity to pour in or serve or support me. And so for me, it just looks like continuing to vet people, know when to let people go, know when to bring new people in, right? Know when it's a season for me to be quiet, just so I can distill that. But it goes in ebbs and flows, but the responsibility falls on me at the end of the day to be a good steward of my space, who I let in, and to know me and know what I need and know what support, but then also know where my weaknesses are so that I can hold myself responsible for not doing my part in curating the right support around me and not always having to be the go-to person. Because as I continue to go higher, I don't want to be the bottleneck to what God has for me, right? And what he wants to do. Because just like in business, we can be a bottleneck into the growth of our business and to growth of what we're trying to do. And I don't want to be that by being disobedient to releasing things that I no longer need to carry, and that other people who have the bandwidth or need the experience or whatever it may be, to have that to be able to then walk along with me, right? So.
Recondius?
Yes, ma'am. That's it's not a hard sell. I will tell you though, understanding who you are and whose you are is really important. I think for me, one of the things that I've learned is that everyone doesn't have the capacity to be able to pour back into me. So my choosing when I'm looking or expecting or wanting someone to be able to pour, I have to also understand they can only pour from their capacity. And if their capacity is not that vast, then guess what? They're gonna give me that little trickle that they give. And whether I'm still gonna be thirsty when they're done, it doesn't change that. But you have to understand. And one of the things, discernment is so key. I was teaching Bible study on Tuesday, and I shared with the people that the Holy Spirit will lead and guide you in all truth. And when you this Holy Spirit will let you know this person serves this purpose. That's the extent of it. You can try with all your might to make them greater. Some plant, some water, God makes the increase. You may not be the increaser for that person. And so you sitting there at a deficit waiting for them to be able to pour back into you. One of the things I wanted to say earlier, but it didn't fit, one of the things for me, I realized that most of the people that are able to pour into me are not in Atlanta. I can call New York and speak to a friend of mine, and they will literally tap right in and speak to where I am in that moment. I can call LA and someone will say, hey, you were in my spirit, and I hear the Lord saying, literally immediately can tap right in.
You can call Charlotte too.
I can call Charlotte, and that's home for me. But guess what? That's a drought. I can call you, I can call certain people, but the Bible talks about you have to go to a space where people don't even know you for them to bless you. And so what I'm learning in this season is that I have to, one, encourage myself, two, understand that where I may seek encouragement, I may not be able to get it. And that's why I got to be a big boy and say, hey, you know what? Today I got to encourage myself. I'm going to call one of my friends, whether it be wherever it is, and let them put. And what's crazy is when you know it's right, you don't have to look for them. You can literally say, they say, hey, how you doing? And I said, well, I'm good. I have some things on my heart. And you begin to share and they tap right in. Like one of the things that I am clear on when it's a spiritual connection, you don't have to explain why you're where you are. They tap in and they know how to pour back into you. And that's one of the things I'm grateful for in this season of my life. I don't explain why deep calleth unto deep. I'm not explaining to you why the Lord is speaking to me the way I'm not explaining to you while I'm silent. I'm not explaining that, because if you know me, you understand that I'm silent because I'm trying to get a download. And that God does not speak in chaos. He doesn't move in chaos. God is, when I tell you he's such a gentleman, that's what I love most about him. He's a gentleman. I would like to say this in regards to your question about how do women with protection and isolation. I heard as you guys were talking, just like noise, there's residue that blocks a lot of your interactions. You've got to stop allowing the residue of your past to predict or predicate what your future looks like. The residue is the noise. Oh, well, the last one did this, or this seems familiar. Maybe it looks the same, but it's totally different. We have got to get to the point that you heal completely before you try to move on. Because if you're literally waiting for that person to be that last person, you're going to always be in a state of, I can't be protected because, I feel like that he's going to do me the same way. Here's what I know about healing really quickly. When the Lord healed me from cancer in 2020 and the doctor called and said, hey, the nurse called and said, you're cancer free. I will be a fool still taking chemo medication thinking because I'm not going to lean into my healing, right? What you got to do, what we've got to do, if you said God has healed you from that, be healed, be whole, and walk in it. But if you still waiting for the shoe to drop, by golly, the shoe is going to drop. We cannot, as people of God, we have got to get to the point that we trust that God did a complete work. It's not partial. When he got up off the cross, when they went to the tomb, they didn't see his arm and his leg in there, and the rest of him was gone. All of him was gone. He was healed completely. If you desire to be healed, if you desire to be whole, then go and be whole and allow someone to fully, wholly love you. And I'm WHOLLY, because if that's the case, then it's a perpetual cycle of unbelief because you're waiting for the shoe to drop, and it will.
I'm sorry. That is so good.
Bless you. Bless
I
you.
was listening. That was really good. Y'all, there is no way we can cram everything I want to discuss with you all into an hour and a half. And if you want to, in 2026, we can pick this up right where we left off and keep going. Let me know. Before we do that, I do want to say how much I appreciate each and every one of you. You all are literally like my uncles, my brothers, and the way you all support me, that affirmation coming from my brothers within the community means so much. And I want to give each of you your flowers to let you know I see you. I appreciate you. I think you all are beautiful Black men in your own right in every industry, not just for what you do in your occupation, your vocation, but who you are as people and who you are growing to me, and how the Lord is using each of you to heal different places of my heart in ways you cannot imagine. Because good Black men still exist. If you know, you know. And I just really, really want to say thank you, thank you, thank you so much. Before we wrap up um, everything, I hope everyone in the comments, you've enjoyed this conversation. If you've missed anything, the replay will be available. Co-host has a question for you all, and then we're going to begin to close things out.
Before we wrap up, what are your key takeaways from our conversation, and where can our listeners find you on social media?
Prescott?
C. Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say C is in the future right now. I was like, what? Okay, but yeah, Prescott, you go.
Key takeaways today is just, we definitely have to continue to have a strong relationship with God, because that truly is our only reliable source of filling our cup. And that we definitely need to support each other more, because we all go through things. We all got heavy burdens, and so it sounds like we could use each other's uh, wisdom more often. So I appreciate this conversation and listening and learning from you fellas today.
Rev?
Working at the Pentagon, you'll have all these generals and admirals sitting around a table. They'll have one problem, but then there'll be like thousands of, hundreds and different types of questions to get to a possible solution. And every day they meet, they get better with the solution. And these are people at the top of their grade. What I wanted to say was that these type of conversations, it helps to get better, because even though we have different answers and to get to the same goal, the more we meet, the better the answers get to get to a particular to get to a particular end. I also want to say that no battle plan has ever survived contact with the enemy. So you can have a lot of good plans, and but when you get in contact with the enemy, it can feel like those plans don't work. So I think this, having a core group to like this right here, it helps. So my biggest takeaway is that no matter what the enemy may throw at us, like my prayer earlier was that in a multitude of counselors, people find safety, and they can hear multiple different ways about how to attack it and how to address it. So I think my biggest thing is that continue to surround yourself with bigger minded, not just like minded, bigger minded people to force you to grow, get some better answers, and how to address the issues that we all deal with privately.
Phil?
Am I speaking to you or your co-host here?
We're gonna fight. We're gonna fight later. I got you. I got you.
First of all, I just want to say, like, I'm happy to see all of y'all here. Just being alive is such a blessing that we take advantage of sometimes. The next minute, the next day is not promised. So the fact that C brings us together another year, and another year we've been together, like, talking on this platform, I just want to say I'm happy to see that y'all still here, and healthy, and that's a blessing in itself. One thing I just want to leave with is that, that I've learned in this past year is that most of the things we fear aren't real. Most of the things we fear are self-fabricated, built on false expectations or something that someone told us we need to do by this certain age. And, we on the time clock, and, if you don't have kids by now, or you ain't married by now, or, all these, this noise, right? Sometimes this noise builds our fear up until to a point where it becomes a reality, where it becomes a real thing, right? And I've been learning, like, most of the things that I used to fear, it don't matter, and it's not real. It has no weight. You know what I mean? So that is my encouragement to all of you and everyone who's watching, is that, most of the things that you're thinking about every single day, every single night, every single morning, that you're you're fear mongering on, and you're just worried about, is not real. And most of the times there is a solution for it, but we can't see the solution, the light at the end of the tunnel, if we let that darkness just stay in our face all dang on day. If you letting those people with the negativity and the dark ways and their dark talk infiltrate your brain and your spirit, you won't be able to see that solution and that light at the end of the tunnel if you let those things interfere, right? So that is my encouragement to y'all. And once again, it's great seeing y'all again, and I'll look forward to seeing y'all in 26.
Yes, y'all my core people. Y'all are so awesome. Minister Byron.
I think my takeaway from today is realizing that iron sharpens iron. I think just having these conversations with some just good men, good brothers. I think none of us has really met each other, hung out with each other, saw each other in the barbershop, but you guys are helping me and we're helping each other, just from hearing that some things we're going through in life, as Black men, we can help each other, and to know that I'm not alone out here, and that I have some like-minded spiritual brothers who are thinking the same thing, going through the same thing, but the solution to it is we know who our Father is, and we depend on him. And it's just strength. Iron sharpens iron. And that's just what I got out of it today, is that we're helping each other. And hopefully what we said today will help some other brothers, will help some other men to be able to come to a place where they can get strength and find strength in knowing that we're here helpers one to another. And that's it. And good to see y'all again. Man, y'all some good looking brothers.
Yes, I got a phone call. Who is so-and-so? Girl. Jalen.
I got two things to say first, but Minister Brown, we go to the same church. We saw each other. But also, 2026, hopefully we can do this in person at the studio or something. We'll talk about it afterwards. But for the my takeaway is definitely being mindful. Lately, for some reason, I've been hearing so much in my head, like God is mindful of me, and I just been seeing that so much. And I think it's just as much as I think being Christian, being Christ-like. Let's be more like him and be mindful of each other. Men being more mindful of other men, and women being mindful of men. And I think the more we start to take that in, just be mindful of each other, we'll see all the change that we want. Just being mindful of each other. That's it.
Rico.
First of all, I want to say thank you to you for creating a safe space for men to be. I will not lie to you and tell you that I have struggled a lot of my life being in the room with a lot of strong men, because I met my father when I was 18. We did not develop relationship until 21, 22. And I had him for 22 years before he died. So I was always fearful of that. And so you've created a space for men to show up. And I want to exalt you, brothers, and tell you that you are beautiful and you're intelligent and you are gracious and you're kind, and to hear your perspective and to know that God is not mindful of us, but he is he incredible that he made us have minds that would be synergistic in this space is so incredible. Like, I love that. I want you guys to know that as we sit here and we have shared and poured from our hearts in a safe space, there is somebody that you're going to have to pull up. There's somebody that you're going to have to encourage, even when you are almost at empty. I don't know where you will find it. The Spirit of God showed me that the cup is your sword, is your resource. The cup is a gift that I gave you. How you fill your cup is what I gave you. That is yours. But when you begin to pour, whatever's overflow is that you share. The cup is the gift that God gave us. He is the source that allows us to fill our cup. If it overflows when we share it, that's good. But when you begin to give from what's inside your cup, you have to go back to Him to be restored. Sometimes we're given from an empty cup, and the people that are around us can't fill us because they don't have the capacity. Find somebody that can fill your cup. Find someone that can pour back into you and speak life back into you when you're at a deficit. I pray that as we shared our hearts today, that we continue these conversations outside of here. I want to, like Jalen said, I would love to be in a room with you guys, and I wrote each one of your names down. I can show you. I wrote your names down just so that I could reach out to you individually, just to connect and just check on you, see how you're doing, to ensure, because I understand what we've shared today, what we've released today, is going to attract an attack because you share from your heart and from your safe space. And what the enemy does is he creates noise to make it sound like that what we said wasn't sound and wasn't just. But it is. It is what the Lord is requiring in this season of us. You have to get comfortable. We have to get comfortable with the sound of our truths coming out of our mouths in order for us to reach the kingdom. Get comfortable hearing what the Lord is saying to you and release it into the atmosphere. I thank God for you, Camille, and I thank God for what you're doing. And I pray that as you continue to go, that God literally blows your mind with a platform that's larger than what you can manage in your home.
Thank you so much. I'm humbled. I hope you all got something from this. Did I miss anybody? I want to make sure I got everybody.
Derek, Miss
Derek,
Derek.
I'm sorry. Yes.
What? Listen, y'all dropped a whole lot of amazing takeaways. I'm taking notes and pulling from it for myself. I'll add to embrace the pause, right? So when you're feeling pressure, when you're feeling anxious, when you're feeling afraid and uncertain, when you don't know, when you're happy, right? When you're celebrating, when you're strong, when you need to do that moment with the Father, the pause is for any and everything that you need to reconnect, to identify, and to do all those things. And so I'm taking from this to add more pauses so that I can really get connected and then take that wisdom, take that understanding, the download from the Holy Spirit, whatever it may be coming to me so I don't miss it. And then I know how to move forward from it. So that's what I'll leave.
Awesome. Um, and I'll reiterate, I appreciate you all so much. Just very wise, lots of value, and just what you all bring to the table. And thank you, not just showing up here for me, but thank you for your show up in the world every day. Um, we need more of you out here, and I am honored to know each and every one of you. And if I could give an award from like a crystal virtual award, it would be the Prescott Most Improved. It's a running joke. And just to see his evolution from when I had him on early on to now, and his growth and maturation by leaps and bounds. I'm just so proud of you, Prescott. And I think the newcomer of the group is Jalen, and Jalen, met him because we go to church together, and Jalen's quiet, but he's a force to be reckoned with, and he's young, but he's got an old soul, very wise, and I just cannot see what he does in this world and how he's showing up for our generation, and just what his hands creating. And then looking at Minister Byron, he quiet, but his presence is very loud, and how he serves and really undergirds a lot of things. And even though you don't say a lot, when you do it all, it has a lot of gravitas to that. And then to Rev, my brother, my shipmate, my brother in love, he's married to my sis, and I just appreciate you just how he is I think a native of Atlanta, right? Son of Atlanta. And just to see coming from the A, and venturing off into the military and being a beacon of light for brothers and men of God in service, like we need that. And I was on the legal side, and you see a lot, and so to have someone like him in that strength and that voice is so needed in the ranks and uniform, especially right now with King Cheeto, just all the foolishness going on. And it's just crazy. And Derek, from day one, Derek, you've always been a warm, genuine person, just very kind, an encourager, someone I could bounce an idea off, oh yeah, go with this, do that. And just always just super supportive, and how our friendship continues to grow and blossom over the years. And I just really, really appreciate you for that. And you let me be me in my way with no judgment. And I say thank you to Seals. Seals, you're such a strong person. You're strong, but you know how to soften it to where you don't um damper my light. You let me be girly feminine me in my way, but your strength is very strong, but it's gentle. And you have a gentle strength about you that I appreciate as you as my friend. And just to see um how you just continue to reach out and grow and blossom and think. And you're such a planner, very strategic, but you're also a great listener. And I think for women, that's so necessary to have someone that can hear us. And I think that's so imperative. So thank you for that so much. And Rico, we've had and continue to have deep conversations. And you have the human side and there's a divine side. And with you, I'm able to be both of those things without apology. And sometimes we don't always agree on everything. But then, like you said, sometimes we can call each other and there's no explanation, just tap right in and we can just flow in that. And there's been times we've talked, laughed, and cried all in one phone call. And so I appreciate the roundness of our conversation so much. So each of you have a special place in my heart. And I want to just give each of you your flowers and to say thank you. And I hope everyone got something from this conversation and really enjoyed it. Be sure to follow me. I'm across all social media platforms. Hit that notification bell and subscribe. With that being said, we are rounding out the year. I am like 500 downloads from hitting 11,000. So I'm really pushing to hit that this year. So y'all, if you haven't done so, please do that. I do want to hit my goal for this year. Tune in next week. Antoine Aiken will be here. We are going to continue our conversation on Black men mental health, and then we're going to have a love and marriage conversation. Rev and my sis Breeze are coming through right before Thanksgiving. So I'm very, very excited about that. And you all, this has been Heart and Soul presented by the SpeakHer Podcast, the podcast where innovators and critics connect. Y'all be blessed. Good night. Bye-bye.
Wow, what a conversation. Gentlemen, if you enjoyed tonight's convo or would like to see more episodes like this, drop it in the comments below. Be sure to tag a brother and subscribe. Be safe. Be blessed. Good night.
Thank you again to my guests, and also thank you for joining us on this episode of the SpeakHer Podcast. If you were late catching the conversation, no worries. Slide over to my YouTube channel and catch the replay. Be sure to hit that notification bell and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Help keep the SpeakHer Podcast ad-free. Hit the link below and buy me a coffee. Your support keeps the podcast free of interruptions, where I'm bringing you more impactful conversations.
Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the SpeakHer Podcast. Be sure to follow Camille on Instagram at camille.essick, Facebook at the SpeakHer Podcast, or www.camilleessick.com.